yesterday, as we were saying goodbye, we were all awaiting the news regarding Cain Velasquez, and just a few minutes after we signed off, we did in fact get the news, and it was a bit of a roller coaster of emotions because the news was kind of trickling in, and I think at first we didn't quite understand the entire story, and now obviously, some 20 hours later we do. I'm going to read this report from uncrowned.com's Shaheen Al-Shadi, our editor-in-chief, who did a great job of reporting on it all. Cain Velasquez is heading to prison. As of right now, we do believe he is back in prison. The former two-time UFC heavyweight champion was sentenced to 5 years for attempted murder and other charges at a hearing Monday at the Santa Clara County Hall of Justice in San Jose, California, ending a 3-year saga that has been repeatedly delayed in the courts. Santa Clara County Superior Court Judge Arthur Bocanegra oversaw the case. NBC Bay Area first reported the verdict on Monday. Velasquez, 42, faced 10 felony charges stemming from a 2022 incident in which he engaged in an 11-mile high-speed car chase with Harry Goulart, who is accused of molesting Velasquez's then 4-year-old son on, quote, multiple occasions. Velasquez fired several shots through his windshield from a .40 caliber handgun during the chase into a car carrying Goulart's mother, and Goulart's stepfather, Paul Bender, resulting in non-life-threatening injuries to Bender due to a gunshot wound to his arm. Photos showing Goulart's truck lined with bullet holes were presented again to the court before Monday's sentencing. Velasquez's 10 charges range from attempted murder, shooting at a motor vehicle or aircraft, assault with a firearm, assault with a deadly weapon, willfully discharging a firearm from a vehicle, and carrying a loaded firearm with intent to commit a felony. Velasquez pleaded no contest to all charges related to this case. Prosecutors sought a sentence of 30 years to life for Velasquez, while the defense hoped to attain time served and probation. Impact statements from Velasquez, his wife, and his 15-year-old daughter were delivered before Monday's proceedings, according to local reports, with Velasquez's daughter pleading the court to allow the former UFC star to attend her high school soccer games. Statements from Harry Goulart and the Goulart family were also read. Here's the important part. Velasquez's sentence includes time served. The former champ spent nearly 1 year incarcerated following the 2022 incident, as well as nearly 2 years on house arrest with an ankle monitor. Local outlet KRON4 reported that Bocanegra was emotional and had, quote, tears in his eyes as he delivered Velasquez's sentence. We have a statement here from the judge, who appeared to have a lot of sympathy for Cain Velasquez. Said, quote, punishment comes in many ways, and one of the worst is forcing a father to not be present in his child's life. This is a tragic case. Mr. Velasquez is not a danger to public safety. So it seemed like he had great mercy on Cain and his family. We told you yesterday that Cain on Kyle Kingsbury's podcast said that he believed what he did was not correct and he had great remorse. He said, quote, the way I handled things was not the way to do it. We cannot put the law in our own hands. And so when you consider the time served, it might end up being, according to his team, from what I'm hearing, as soon as potentially January, with some good behavior involved, to where he could be released. So initially when we heard about the 5 years, oh my God, 5 years is a nightmare. And any day behind bars for a good man like Cain Velasquez is a nightmare. But I do believe that this was a good day for Cain Velasquez, all things considered, when you consider and factor the fact that they were seeking 30 years to life. As you can see there, he is being credited for 1,283 days served. We were reacting to some of the visuals of him yesterday, courtesy of local news outlets, and he did seem very much at peace. There he is, hands in his pocket, with his daughter by his side. That's a man who looks to be at peace. Look at that. It's almost like he's somewhat smiling. And, we have seen a change in Cain's demeanor over the last couple of years. A gentle giant, soft-spoken, one of the nicest human beings that I've ever come across. And, I had a brief, here he is with some of his friends and teammates supporting him. An incredible guy, and it makes me emotional seeing him like that because No one deserves that. No one deserves what he and his family have gone through. And Harry Goulart is going to have his day in court. His trial begins on the 2nd of June, I do believe. I have this written. Yeah, it starts on the 2nd of June. And he pled not guilty to one charge of lewd acts with a minor. I think every parent out there sympathizes with Cain, understands what he was going through. And quite frankly, I've heard from a lot of people, and I would back it up, would think about doing the same. That's your children. You're here to protect them, and you send them off to different places, to schools, to camps, to activities, and you do so with the hope, with the trust that they will be taken care of. And this is every parent's worst nightmare. And so I don't blame Cain one bit. He acknowledges what he did was wrong. He acknowledges that he shouldn't have done it. But I'm so glad that judge had mercy on him. And you saw a lot of fighters speak up on his behalf and back him, because he is truly one of the most beloved human beings in the history of MMA. Not just a trailblazer, a pioneer, but an absolute class act. We have some tweets here. Michael K said Cain shouldn't serve any jail time in the heat of the moment. What man wouldn't have a lapse in judgment to protect his family? The focus should be on the man that committed crimes much worse than what Cain did. I'm thankful he only has to serve 5 years instead of 30. Again, time served helps Cain out tremendously. Some more reaction from notables in the MMA world. Oban Elliott. Well, if that's the case, all in all, a good result when you consider how fucked the justice system is. He's referring to the time served. Absolutely gutted for Cain and his family. You'll be out in no time, champ. You are forever a legend to us and a hero to your family. More reaction. Chris Weidman, this is awful. More reaction. Free Cain from Jorge Masvidal. This from DC, obviously one of his best friends. Been by his side for so many years. Warrior, Cain, you are the man. That won't ever change. You will approach this like you've done every step in your life. See you soon, champ. Hard not to get emotional reading this stuff, because you know what these people mean to Cain Velasquez. Saw others like Khabib Nurmagomedov and many other fighters backing Cain Velasquez, who will be free in the not too distant future. And I was talking to one of his friends yesterday, and you just have to know that in Northern California, Cain Velasquez, UFC champion, Lucha Libre star, first ever Mexican-American heavyweight champion in combat sports, first ever Mexican-American champion in the UFC. Ain't no one fucking with Cain Velasquez behind bars. I can assure you of that. And he alluded to that when talking about how he was treated the first time around. But, there are some people who have to worry about those things. I would imagine, given what he did, given what he stands for, given his reputation, given his resume and who he represents, to me, I saw some people doing the whole like, oh, you can't take, you got kids? Do you have kids? Don't weigh in on this bullshit. Spare me that bullshit. You don't get it. Cain Velasquez is a good man. We'll always support him here, and I just wish him the best, and I hope that he is able to hang in there, stay mentally strong, and get back to his family as soon as possible. It's a tough one to process, because I understand what he did. You can't just go running around, with a gun. I get that. Trust me, I get that. But this isn't like someone stole his wallet, okay? When your kid is hurt, you feel it. It's hard to explain, but you feel it. You feel like when my kids don't take a shower at night, I feel it. When my son is hurt, I feel it. I was telling you guys about the time that my son sat on the bench for a basketball game. I felt his pain. I can't even fathom what he felt on that day. Can't even fathom. Don't even want to fathom. Can't even process it. So thank God he had that judge. And again, he seemed to be at peace with it all. Anyone have any thoughts on the Cain Velasquez situation? This is a different one.
No, I would echo everything you said. Certainly, as a father myself, couldn't even imagine what he was going through and what the family's gone through. What I would just hope is that justice is served in the case of the man who has been accused of basically, what has been said by many people online and fighters and other people who have supported Cain. we have got one case here, but then there's another case in June for the man accused of what he did to Cain's family. Hopefully justice is served in that case. That is how justice can be enacted, Not Cain tried to take the law into his own hands, admits now that was faulty. There is an opportunity for justice to be served. Let's see what happens in June, and I hope that it is.
Yeah. I saw the family speaking outside the courthouse saying that they were disappointed, that they're going to clear their name, that this is all alleged, that nothing happened. I mean, I would have a hard time believing that Cain Velasquez would do something like this if he didn't feel quite strongly like this actually transpired. And I can't stand the devil's advocates out there being like, well, what are you guys celebrating? Fuck you. There is no way that any parent on the planet would feel differently than Rick and I here.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's just no way. I question if you have a heart. I question if you have a beating heart, if you have a conscience, if you don't feel that same way. And so I think everyone sympathizes with him. And the thing is, like we all covered Cain, we all watched him in his prime, the most soft-spoken, gentle giant there is. Just an absolute legend. Pizzi, your thoughts?
I think my big takeaway from all of this, and I think you guys have done a great job of expressing how the community feels about this. But I think one thing that we need to take away from it is look at his reaction to this, his life being turned upside down. He came on your show not so long ago, and the transformative situation he's gone through because of this, in the depths of absolute despair, I'd imagine, under house arrest, having been in prison. You saw him walking out there. You were just talking about it, like a weight's been lifted off his shoulder. The way he's reacted to all this has been absolutely perfect, really. You couldn't ask for a man to react better than he had. I think the testimony he gave in the court helped him greatly too. This is clearly a man who understands the situation he's in. As you said on the Kyle Kingsbury show, he said he'd accept whatever came his way. But really, everything he's done has been such an amazing reaction to a horrific situation. And, we already love this guy. And I think the fact that he's come out of this, well, obviously he has to serve some time still, and hopefully your timeline on that is correct, Ariel. But really, it is so admirable the way he's taken all this in his stride, and his reaction to it has just been perfect as far as I'm concerned.
You see that same thing that I'm talking about, like the look on his face?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every time I see him speak, I think, wow, like what an achievement this is for him to come through this with this kind of clarity in his mind and to be so self-assured. Obviously the situation happens like that. There's no telling how anyone's going to react. And no one's saying, it's perfectly acceptable to do what he did, but it's certainly understandable. It is absolutely understandable. And thank God nobody was hurt. And everything like that, because he would have been looking at it a lot better. But I think this is an all-round win. If we're looking at 30 to life, I think this is a win, and hopefully he's out and he can put this behind him.
And to that point,
Yep.
He has acknowledged that he made the incorrect choice, and he has accepted his punishment, and the punishment was handed out. And so this is how this goes. And to your I couldn't agree with you more, Pizzi. He has come to terms with this, realized his error, and accepted the penalty for it, and now he moves on.
No one was hurt physically from what he did, long-term injuries, but, we may never know the psychological pain that this has caused. The family, the victim, everyone involved from the Velasquez family. So let's just hope that justice is served, and let's hope that Cain is able to hang in there. It was very nice to see so many people in the MMA community stick up for him. And really, ever since we've talked to him post-retirement, we talked about like the ayahuasca and the meditation, all that, his transformation as a human being, he's almost become one of those guys that I bet would say, I don't want to squash a bug. You know what I mean? Like he just seems so at peace, and I can't imagine. That video that we talked about? I don't know if it was on the show or off the show, where he's sitting on a horse having an ice cream.
Yeah.
It is just amazing, like that. He just seems like gentle. I keep saying gentle giant, but it's just amazing that this guy was one of the baddest dudes on the planet at one point. Completely annihilated Brock Lesnar to win the heavyweight title, and one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. And that this has occurred to him. So
I have to
think he's a
imagine
violent
when you've
person.
seen what he has seen, when you've had to deal with what his family is dealing with, and face that and rebuild yourself after. there's only one way you can go from there, right? You're going all the way to the bottom. That is the worst thing that could happen to a family. And now you're thinking about, okay, you have to rebuild and you have to find that light and find that way forward. And it seems like he's found a great path. He is truly, as you've said, at peace is the way to describe it.
Thank God the judge wasn't one of these people saying, "Oh, this cage fighter is a menace to society, and we need to." Thank God, because
if it was 20 years ago, we might have been looking at that.
Yeah, maybe it's this new demeanor that he has. It really does feel like Rick said, like he just has no regrets. He's at peace with it. He did what he felt like he had to do, and now he's just going to move forward with it. And a man that has no fears either. I don't imagine that he fears finishing this time in prison.
Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.